Pokemon Masters, Birdkeeper Toby here, and who is Ash Ketchum exactly? You probably know him as the hero from the TV show, or maybe you know him from the Electric Tale of Pikachu manga. He appears across many different mediums in different forms, but the one he doesn't appear in is the video games. Right? Before I get on with today's video, I want to do a massive social media shout out because I've just opened 2 new social medias, my Instagram and my Tumblr. Instagram is bird_keeper_Toby and Tumblr is Birdkeeper Toby Official. I tried to just take Birdkeeper Toby, but those names were apparently already taken, possibly by me a few years ago, and I shut those things down, but now I intend to use them fully and properly. Links to them are in the description, and of course there is my Twitter, @BirdkeeperToby. And if you want to know what's going on with me, my Twitter and Instagram are going to be very, very good places to keep up to date with everything. On the Instagram, I'm going to be posting things like early screenshots and thumbnails and demo thumbnails, and I want to get your opinion on those things. So that's a great place to follow. So, Ash Ketchum is not in the video games, right? In the video games, we have the character of Red, the character that Ash is in fact based off of. Red is from Pallet Town, like Ash. He ends up with a Pikachu, like Ash. He is the video game version of Ash. So, why'd they have to go and confuse it with Sun and Moon? Well, there had been an event for an Ash Pikachu before in the game. Sun and Moon throws everything on its head by having Pikachus in the code that have Ash's various adventure hats on, Ash Greninja as an event that you can get through the demo, as well as a picture of Ash Ketchum's shoulder with Pikachu on it in Mimikyu's room. That's going to be important later. But this means that Ash Ketchum, or some version of him, exists in the same world as Red. And that is pretty problematic. So how do we reconcile that? I talked about it briefly in a video before where I talked about could Ash and Red be related, and following up from that idea, I actually met one of you at an event, Silver Zephyr Studios. He has a YouTube channel too, and I'm going to link to that in the description, but while we were talking, he suggested the idea, what if Ash was Red's father? Because a lot of people say that Red could be Ash's father, because Ash's father is this big point of ambiguity, no one knows who he is. What if it was Red? I don't believe either of those things are possible. And a lot of people make the assumption that Ash is younger than Red due to the more mature looking nature of Red. He's more fierce, he's more adult. The mediums he appears in, like the Pokemon Adventures manga, is generally more mature than the mediums like the TV show, which is very much designed for kids. So a lot of people assume that Ash must be younger than Red. But I really like this idea. What if Ash predates Red? And not only do I think it's possible, I think I have a theory to prove it. So, the first thing I want to talk about when establishing this theory is that each medium is different. The Pokemon Adventures version of Red is not the same as the video game version of Red. And the video game version of Red is not the same as the Pokemon Origins version of Red. For example, in Pokemon Origins, he starts with a Charmander, whereas in the game, canonically speaking, he starts with a Pikachu. And in Pokemon Adventures, he starts technically with a Poliwag. These 3 Reds are all generally the same character, but in each medium, they are totally different with various different origin stories. Their stories follow similar plot beats, but they are different Reds. And the same applies for Ash Ketchum. The Ash Ketchum in the show is not the same Ash Ketchum from the Electric Tale of Pikachu. And there's another Ash Ketchum coming up very, very soon. I'm going to be talking about that later on in the video. So if there is a video game version of Ash, it is not the same as the TV show version of Ash. That is the most important thing I have to stress here. Whatever kind of Ash Ketchum exists in the game does not exist in the show. Their plot points might be similar. For example, there's a good chance they're both from Pallet Town, for example. They both have Pikachu. It looks like, based on the hats on each of the Pikachus that are hidden in the code of Sun and Moon, that the Ash Ketchum from the games did in fact go on lots of different adventures, and he definitely did catch a Greninja that he had a special bond with. Those things are definitely the same. But one big key difference I think here is that the game is set in a world where characters actually age. Well, apart from Wally. I should probably do a theory about that at some point. Whereas the show seems to exist in a world where characters don't age. Well, certainly Ash doesn't age. And again, this immortal Ash is not the Ash we're talking about when we're talking about the games. So, the first part of this video, does Ash predate Red? Well, if Ash was younger than Red, if Ash was his younger brother or son, for example, there's a good chance that by now we would have seen them, either in Red and Blue, living in Pallet Town in the same house as Red, or we would have seen them in Sun and Moon now that Red is an adult. But that doesn't make sense, because in Sun and Moon, in Mimikyu's room, there is this picture of Ash Ketchum's shoulder. He looks like he did when he was about age 10, and for Ash to have been 10 while Red was 20, Red would have needed to have Ash when he was 10, so the timeline doesn't add up. And of course the reason I suggest they're related is because look at them. If they're gonna exist in the same universe, genetically they've got to be similar. And again, they both have origins in Pallet Town. So again, let's go back to this idea of Ash predating Red. Now, I don't like the idea of Ash being Red's father, not just because I don't like it willy-nilly, but because I have evidence for something different. What if Ash was Red's older brother? And Ash predates Red by exactly 10 years. And all of this comes together because of a video I made recently about Mimikyu and why Mimikyu looks the way it does. Just to recap, Mimikyu looks the way it does. It takes on the appearance of Pikachu because of the rise in popularity of Pikachu-styled merchandise, according to the Sun and Moon website, from around 20 years ago. That number's important. 20 years ago in the Pokemon chronology from Sun and Moon, Pikachu became super popular, and Mimikyu decided, well, hey, I want to be loved, so I'm going to take on the appearance of Pikachu. And I theorized that because Red and Blue came out 20 years before Sun and Moon, that the reason that Pikachu became popular 20 years ago was because of Red and Red's Pikachu. Red, this powerful trainer who conquered the Indigo League and defeated the Elite Four and the champion with a Pikachu by his side. It's quite a feat and plausible that it would have brought fame to Red and to the Pokemon Pikachu. There would have been a rise in Pikachu-styled merchandise, and thus Mimikyu takes on the form that it does. But there is a problem with that video, there's a problem with that theory, and that is that 20 years does not add up with the Pokemon timeline. See, the Generation 1 and 3 games happen when Red is age 10. The Generation 3 and 4 games happen 3 years later, with the Generation 5 games happening 3 years after that. According to Bulbapedia, the Generation 5 sequels, as well as X and Y, happened 2 years after that, and by the lack of aging of Dexio and Cena, you can see that Sun and Moon don't happen too long after. According to Bulbapedia, another 2 years. And if you've added all that up, that's 10 years. Sun and Moon happening 10 years after the events of Red and Blue, when Red supposedly made Pikachu famous. 10, not 20. So Pikachu became famous 10 years before Red and Blue even started. So the question is, who has a Pikachu that might have made Pikachu famous 10 years before Red and Blue started? Well, possibly Ash. If Ash is Red's brother or cousin or relative because they look so similar, or whatever, from 10 years before Red and Blue even start, and he goes off on his quest, he goes around the various different regions, he catches this legendary Greninja, he makes a name for himself, and he makes Pikachu famous, because he does it all with a Pikachu, of course, by his side, then that is what Mimikyu is basing his design off of. The rise in popularity of Pikachu-style merchandise is because of Ash's Pikachu, which makes sense as well in relation to the real-world Pokemon franchise, because Pikachu wasn't really a mascot until Ash came along. And if that's true, that leaves us with 2 new questions. Number 1, what is it that Ash did to make him and Pikachu so famous? And 2, where is Ash now in the Pokemon universe? So let's deal with the first question. And the answer is, well, I don't actually know. It could have been any number of things. See, like I say, between the different mediums of Pokemon Adventures and Pokemon Origins and Pokemon Generations and the video games, Red, they are all different characters that follow relatively similar story arcs. And when it comes to Ash, you've got the Electric Tail of Pikachu manga, you've got the TV show, and now the video games. And again, they're all going to follow similar arcs. And in the show, Ash has done a lot of things that could make him famous. I mean, if you just look at the movies, he's saved the world nearly 20 odd times. He's encountered loads of legendary Pokemon, and heck, in the games, he might have just been a more competent battler than he is in the show, and actually won a league or 2. So if any of those plot points carried over to the games, there is any number of reasons as to why Ash would be famous in the games. Number 2 is a far more interesting question. Where is Ash now? He was 10 before the events of Red and Blue, he's 20 during the events of Red and Blue, and he'd be age 30 by the time Sun and Moon comes around. So I started looking. Is there any characters around the age of 30 that are significant or insignificant even who have a Pikachu? Could any of them be Ash Ketchum in disguise? And I found nothing in the main series games. However, I did find something in Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and Colosseum, and that is the character of Eugene from Agate Village. Eugene is an old man, granted not 30, which would mean if this was Ash Ketchum, and this is a stretch here, that it's set a long time after Sun and Moon, probably like another 50 years later. Although the world of Colosseum and XD could be set that far after, I mean the world is totally different, wild Pokemon are a lot less scarce, and people double battle instead of single battle, so maybe that's just a cultural change. However, when you look at Eugene Eugene, you start seeing a lot of similarities between him and Ash. Number 1, his favorite and starter Pokemon is a Pikachu. Number 2, he is famous within the world of the Ori region as one of the world's greatest Pokemon trainers, apparently. Number 3, he has had at least 2 encounters with Ho-Oh, which again, if the story between the show and the games parallel each other, then Ash will definitely encounter Ho-Oh. As well as having had encounters with Celebi, which again, Ash has had. Oh, and his granddaughter genetically seems to share a lot of traits with a certain Ash Ketchum love interest. Pokeshipping confirmed? And going back to the note about Ho-Oh, that seems to be a consistent thing about Ash's characters across every medium, because we've just had the announcement for the new Pokemon 2017 movie, which shows yet another version of Ash. This is not a reboot, this is not the same Ash from the show, this is a new version of Ash, and in the very first poster, we see him looking up at Ho-Oh. Maybe the version that we're going to see in that show is going to be even closer to the real version of Ash. It's going to be even closer to the video game version. Maybe it'll show us why Ash Ketchum became so famous, how he became the Ash Ketchum from the video games, the one that his younger brother Red looked up to and aspired to, or cousin, or whatever. We'll see him become a great trainer, as well as his buddy Pikachu, who will become an icon, a mascot, who will become famous in the Pokemon world. And that'll cause a rise in popularity of Pikachu-style merchandise, which 20 years later will become what Mimikyu bases itself off of. And if you stretch it just a little bit further, very possibly, in the far, far future, Ash becomes Eugene of Agate Village. But maybe not that last part as well. Why don't you let me know what you think about this Pokemon theory on Twitter as well as in the comments, and of course my new social medias, Tumblr and Instagram. I cannot recommend following those places enough, it is the best place to catch up with what's going on with me. Also, I wasn't going to be able to make this video because my audio equipment broke, and I did a donation stream last week and we raised more than enough money to replace the audio equipment, which is what I am using right now. So this video and all subsequent videos would not be possible without those people that donated. Their names are coming up on screen right now, and I want to say a massive thank you to all of them who came out to the stream, who were generous enough to donate. It makes a massive, massive difference. So hi, Pokemon Masters. Also a special thank you to my patrons of the month, including Joey Powles and Jon D Gottlitch. Thank you.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master!